Today we celebrate World Photography Day with Mr. Aditya Arya, a luminary in the photography and conservation space. We are at Museo Camera in Gurugram, a unique museum featuring over 2,000 rare cameras.
The slowness is actually being taken over by fantastic speed, which is your digital devices.
At BenQ, we are committed to providing tools that help photographers bring their vision to life.
Don't chase money, chase work, chase your dream. Things will happen. Unfortunately, people are not chasing dreams and work. You are actually a documenter of your times. You are a visual anthropologist. You are documenting cultures and leaving behind stories for the future. Things change, things evolve.
Hello and welcome to Unpixelated, the BenQ India Podcast. I am Rajeev Singh, Managing Director of BenQ India and your host today. This podcast explores the stories of creativity, innovation, and inspiring journeys. Today we celebrate World Photography Day with Mr. Aditya Arya, a luminary in the photography and conservation space. We are at Museo Camera in Gurugram, a unique museum featuring over 2,000 rare cameras, traces the evolution of photography and serves as a hub for exhibitions, workshops, as well as educational programs. Aditya Arya, a renowned photographer, historian, and archivist, is the visionary behind Museo Camera. His dedication to preserving the history of photography has made this museum a cornerstone for the photographic arts in India. Join us as we delve into Aditya Arya's journey and the story behind Museo Camera. Welcome to Unpixelated, Aditya. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you. Pleasure is all ours.
Aditya, what inspired you to transform your personal collection into Museo Camera, which is the largest non-profit photographic art center in South Asia now?
So, as a collector, there are only two things you can do, is sell your collection or leave a legacy behind for future generations. Yeah. And my idea was to leave a legacy, and especially for today's generation, the born digital generation, so they understand about the analog story, how the silver grains turned into the pixels of today. This is the story of photography, which all of us from my generation, we spent ages in the dark room. Today, people spend all that time sitting on the light room.
Museo Camera is indeed a unique and valuable institution. We would love to hear more about some of the notable pieces in your collection and what makes them so special.
So, one of the earliest pieces is a daguerreotype from 1860. And as you know, it was Daguerre who invented one of the most important processes of photography, which he named after himself, daguerreotype. Then we have some classic Kodak cameras, which you can see here. And then K20, one of the cameras which was used during the World War to take that famous picture, the very sad event when the atom bomb was dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. So the cameras have played very important role in documenting the history. You know, I keep telling people, if these cameras could talk, they could tell you very interesting stories, what they saw.
Yeah. So Museo Camera is a prime example of a successful public-private partnership, which is so rare to find. Could you share how this collaboration came about and how you navigated the process of making it a success?
Very interesting question, because a lot of people keep asking me. And in fact, the government has asked me this many times. How come this fantastic partnership happened? So there are only two things about partnership: transparency and honesty. My idea was to leave a legacy behind, and the transparency is whatever we do is on board, above board, and totally visible to people. We are engaging. We're trying to create a cultural hub in the city of Gurgaon, which is known for malls and pubs and the clubs, but it lacked cultural spaces. So the idea was coming together of the government and the municipality and us to create a cultural hub.
And do you think that passion played any part in making this successful?
Very important. I'm asked many times, I've been asked by Ministry of Culture, why can't we have many such places in lot more cities? I said, yes, it's easy to set up an infrastructure, to get a building, to create a museum, get people to run them. So these kind of projects have to be driven by passion, not by, you need infrastructure, but passion is a very important ingredient, which is the driving force.
Yeah, you cannot be SOP oriented for running these
Oh
kind
no,
of things.
you have to be here, hands down, take decisions every day and say, let's do this or let's not do this.
Yeah, very interesting. So photography has come a long way since its inception. Aditya, how do you see the evolution of photography and how does Museo Camera capture this journey?
So as I said, the story of photography is what we talk about in the museum. It has come a long way. When it used to take 2 hours to take one picture to 20,000 pictures in few seconds. Yeah. So the story of photography is very interesting. How the slowness is actually being taken over by fantastic speed, which is your digital devices. So the photography was a very slow process, but today it's an amazingly fast process, which is also a very difficult thing for me to explain to the people how the beauty of slowness, where you created the image in your mind before pressing the button. Yeah. Today, people press the button and then look at the image on the phone or the digital device. They click 20,000 pictures and then they look at them. They end up deleting most of them.
Yeah. Photography is indeed a powerful medium. How do you see its role in today's digital world?
So we have to understand why and how of photography. So when photography was launched, was discovered, was announced to the world, it was initially photographs were proof of something which happened.
Yeah.
Today, photographs are suspect. The minute you see a photograph, you say, hey, is this manipulated? So much so that organizations like World Press Photo, where people send pictures, the photojournalists, they have to send a raw file along with the submission. Why? No. This is not manipulated. This is not tempered. This is not manipulated. So, there was a time you could walk into the court and say, "My lord, I have a photograph." Today, my lord will say, "Isko band kar do." Throw him out. So how a proof has become a suspect. So the medium is undergoing huge amounts of evolution. But what is very interesting is how photography is evolving as an art medium. So one is journalistic and other processes, but as an art, it's evolving hugely.
Aditya, in your opinion, how have the technological advancements revolutionized photography and impacted the way photographers work today?
A process which used to take hours is accomplished in seconds, but this revolution has also impacted the workflow of photographers. So there was a time when I keep insisting photographs were created, but they were pre-visualized. You had a limited number of shots. You had 36 exposures, 12 exposures, so you had to expose very carefully. Today, what has happened is, if there is so much of dependence on post, not pre.
Yeah.
We come from the time, analog guys come from the time of where everything was pre-planned, pre-visualized. Today there is a lot of dependence on post. So that throws a different challenge, because a lot of manipulations are possible, a lot of corrections are possible, which were not possible earlier.
At BenQ, we are committed to providing tools that help photographers bring their vision to life. How important it is having the right tool, like for example, the color accurate monitors for professional photographers.
Very important. Films were manufactured for certain color spectrums. 3200 kelvins, 5500 kelvins. We knew exactly what will happen to the film negative in each lighting situations. Now, unfortunately, today, when you see an image on the screen and what you've shot, the screens don't match. So it's very important the camera screen and how the images have been shot, they should match the screens on which you are editing the image and the printer who is going to print the image. So there has to be a consistency between all the processes.
We have seen in India that while the photography is quite evolved, but the post-production part of it, especially the use of color accurate monitor, etc., is still very much in the initial stages. So, in your opinion, what needs to be done to complete this kind of treatment entire, which should be across the complete workflow of photography to ensure that the final output is really good?
So the workflow has to be implemented from the side of the photographer to the end user, and also to understand how each device reacts to the image, because no two devices are same, no two screens are same. So photographers have to insist on proper workflow process.
In today's digital age, you are still drawn to the beauty of analog processes. What attracts you to analog photography and how do you integrate these techniques with the digital photography?
So, you know what I miss today? The touch and feel, the idea of loading a roll of film, holding a negative, processing the film, processing the print. You know, I wish I could touch the pixels. So, you know, for me, that touch and feel, for all of us, was an experience which we all miss. How do we integrate it? Let me tell you, I do go back to my analog occasionally by practicing on film and processing a film. But while working on digital format, I like to play around with various apps and features of Lightroom and Photoshop, and to see, you know, how the digital images can be replicated as in the case of film. The same grain. The grain for us is noise for you. For me, I love the grain. So today's young kids come and say, "Badi noisy hai." I said, "Do you know what the film was like? It was grainy and it had its beauty." So today, a lot of people are working on noisy images.
Yeah.
So we do integrate. The idea of film will never go.
You mentor many born digital photographers. How do you encourage them to appreciate the art of slowing down and what do you believe they can learn from analog processes?
So, when analog photographers worked, as I keep saying, they had 36 exposures, 12 exposures, they created perfect images. Perfect. There was no possibility of a second take. Why? Images were created here. So, the idea of slowing down, where I'm going to allow you to shoot only 10 images and they should all be perfect. Don't depend on post. Create a perfectly pre visualized image.
Yeah.
So I tell them, block your screens, create your image here first.
Very interesting. You began your professional photography career in the 1980s after studying history from St. Stephen's College. Can you tell us how your background in history influenced your approach to photography?
So, history was very fascinating. It helped me understand places, about places, their stories. And for a couple of years, I did dabble into travel photography, going to places, shooting places. So everything used to come alive. When you go to a place and you all of a sudden, my God, I read about this place. So, places do come alive if you try and connect the history. And it helps you understand the place much better. And this whole place actually was thanks to studying history also, because I said, what is the history of my own profession? How did it evolve? And that led to this. Let me read more about the history of photography. I started collecting things, collecting equipment, and that led to this museum.
Yeah. When talking about history as well as culture, our country is so much culturally diverse. Which is one, if you have to single out one particular trip of yours or a number of trip to a particular region in India, which was the most striking for you and why?
I must say, I have worked in each and every major town of India. I worked in each and every state of India except Mizoram. But from Ladakh to Kanyakumari to Lakshadweep to Andamans to Odisha to Rajasthan, hundreds of places. Each one has its own charm. But having said that, Nagaland is one place which has always fascinated me. I've had an unique opportunity to work there for almost spread over almost 6 years. And this year, I hope to I am launching my work this year in the form of an exhibition.
Very interesting. So yeah, of course, Nagaland is one place in India which I think is culturally so much different than most of the other places, but we know very little about it. So, with your experience, what are the things that you found which you were not aware about before you went there?
Everything. These were self-driven, self-financed trips to Nagaland. So each trip, actually, I was taking a break from my. So I also believe, as a photographer, you have a very important role to play. You are actually a documenter of your times. You are a visual anthropologist. You are documenting cultures and leaving behind stories for the future. Things change, things evolve. If you go to those places in Nagaland where I was in 1984, those places have changed. People have evolved. So I'm not making a judgment good or bad. I am saying photographers have a role to play. They leave behind visual histories which are as important as the written histories. So you are actually a visual historian.
Aditya, your journey is incredibly motivating. What keeps you going? And what advice would you like to give to the inspiring photographers who want to make a difference in their communities?
So, firstly, don't chase money, chase work, chase your dream. Things will happen. Unfortunately, people are not chasing dreams and work, they chase money. Money will come eventually, but you have to get your priorities right. I know that you need money to survive, but to have a body of work is very important. To have your personal body of work is extremely important. Something to show which you've done out of passion, not commissioned by somebody. So this is where there are many sides to this profession. You can be a commercial photographer, work, get paid, but you're also an artist. So what are you doing to showcase your work, to create your body of work? Something which gives you more satisfaction.
Yeah. Any inspiring anecdotes or moments you would like to share from your career, and what kept you motivated to be on the path that you are today?
To be a photographer is unlike any other profession in the world. Every day is a new day, and you have to take it in that spirit, because as a photographer, you will meet people from all walks of life. You will be working with farmers, you could be working with industrialists, you could be working with corporate people, and this is the only profession where you get to constantly learn things, how people work. You are an observer to the drama of the world. I cannot think of any other profession which actually pays you to be a witness to the changing times.
Yeah.
Every day. There are hundreds of steel plants, factories. I could tell you, go to that corner, this is that process, go meet this guy, I've worked with him. Everything is an experience.
That reminds me one of the movies that I saw just about a weekend back. It's the Civil War. So this movie is about civil war happening in US, and it's a story of a group of photojournalists who are covering this war all through the movie, and it's really a tale amazingly told.
Oh, I really would love to see that, but I can tell you there was a photographer called William Brady, if I'm not wrong. His archive is absolutely fantastic of American Civil War, because the American Civil War happened in the early days of photography, and these guys carried a lot of heavy equipment on horses. They staged pictures because that time the photography was a slow process.
Yeah.
So, you'll be amazed. One of the most famous photographs of first war of Indian independence was taken it was Lucknow, was taken 6 months after the incident, where the photographer actually staged all the bodies and the skulls and then shot the picture. So, each picture has a story.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how these stories come up.
Yeah. Talking about your upcoming exhibition, about your photographs that you had taken in the Nagaland during the 1980s, I happened to see few of them today, and I was really struck by some of them absolutely. So, would you like to talk about few of those photographs?
So these are the images which I'm going to be displaying this month, and some of them are unique, like the collection of human skulls in this village called Chui, and the Ang of Chui, who was the chief of the village. Ang is the chief of the Konyak tribe. He had a collection of few hundred human heads. They don't exist today. Though they should have been preserved in a museum,
Yeah.
but they've been destroyed and buried and done away with. Then I was able to witness tiger hunts. Now, tiger has a very symbolic, deep meaning in Naga culture. And how tiger meat was cooked and consumed, and the head was presented to the Ang, the Konyak chief. Now, these were images which I was able to shoot, and these are histories today. These are important visual histories. These are records. So, how they lived, their houses. So, as a photographer, as a visual historian, that's my contribution to these histories.
Excellent. So before we wrap up, let's do a quick rapid fire round. Are you ready, Aditya?
Sure.
So what's your favorite camera of all time?
Today, I'm going to say mobile because it's always with me and I never miss out on an opportunity to take a picture. But I still like to go back to my film camera.
So in today's digital photography world, everybody either swears by a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony. So what's your preference?
So as an analog photographer, I was a Nikon user and shifted to Canon because Nikon never made a great digital camera till quite some time. Today they have a fantastic array of digital cameras. Unfortunately, Sony has never been at that level, as they have been more or less mirrorless. I prefer large cameras because of my analog background.
One word to describe your photography journey.
Oh, it's been very fascinating. Life is an experience.
Black and white or colored?
Shades of grey.
In photography, which one do you prefer more? Cityscape or landscape or food?
All. I love the act of photography.
Aditya, do you have any role model in photography?
So, each and every photograph or a photographer's body of work I see, I enjoy. So, instead of saying one, maybe I have thousands. Because they all specialize in various genres: landscape, food, advertising, products. I love visuals. I love what they do.
Thank you, Aditya, for sharing your insights and stories. It has been an enlightening conversation, and I am sure our listeners are inspired by the incredible work that you are doing in the photography and conservation area. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you want to explore more about Aditya's work or visit Museo Camera, please check the links in the episode description. Until next time, keep capturing the world through your unique lens.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Museo.
Goodbye, everyone, and stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on Unpixelated, the BenQ India podcast.